We welcome you into Week 11 of the Ken Sparks Show. I'm Adam Cavalier. Ken Sparks has the week off, and we'll talk with Mike Clowney and Mike Turner, Carson-Newman's defensive and offensive coordinator, a little later in the show. What a way for Carson-Newman to finish out the regular season. The Eagles pick up a 52-35 road victory to spoil the Wingate Bulldogs senior day, and the Eagles in the process clinch a bid in the NCAA playoffs. Carson-Newman, the 4th seed in Super Region 2, the Eagles' foe, a familiar one. Carson-Newman will play host on Saturday, November 23rd, to the 5th seed Newberry Wolves. The Eagles defeated Newberry just 2 weeks ago, 52-31. But we'll take a look back at Carson-Newman's most recent contest, that 52-35 victory over the Wingate Bulldogs. Before we get to interviews with Carson-Newman's coordinators, we take a look at all of the highlights from the Eagles' playoff-clinching victory.
Here from their own 46 on 3rd and 4. Thomas under center from the right hash. Takes the snap, gives on a dive, left side, Andy Hibbett. Hibbett spurts through a hole, gaping. Hibbett in a foot race to the 30, 20, 10. Out races a man to the end zone. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. Check the stopwatch. Andy Hibbett scoots up the middle for a 54-yard touchdown run. And the Eagles take a 6-0 lead with 12:10 left in the first quarter. Nallenweg takes the shotgun snap, shoulder height. Eagles rush 7. Nallenweg hit in the backfield, now pursued. Nallenweg as he rushes right, dropped from behind by Javaris Neal. A sack and a loss of 2 back to the 27. That is the 36th sack that Wingate has surrendered this season. Thomas takes the snap, he'll keep it left side. Thomas into the boundary, hurdles a man at the goal line. Topsy-turvy, into the end zone he goes. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. DeAndre Thomas with the highlight reel flip into the end zone.
I don't know where the play came from, but it sure cashed.
DeAndre Thomas with the 16-yard score on 3rd and 7 puts the Eagles ahead 13-0 with 6:40 left in the first quarter. What a run with Gaylord to his right. A trio of wideouts wide to the left and a lone man buried to the short side right. Nallenweg motions with both of his hands. Play clock's at 7. Back into the gun he steps. Blitz comes from the Eagles. High snap. Nallenweg back to pass, and it's intercepted by Jacob Coleman at the 15. Moves right up to the 17-yard line, where he's brought down from behind by Jawan Funderburk. But Jacob Coleman, with the interception, his 2nd of the season, stops the Wingate drive in the Bulldogs' red zone. Thomas takes the snap. He will sneak it forward. Thomas pushing for the goal line. No signal yet. Did he get in? You betcha. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. DeAndre Thomas with a 3-yard quarterback sneak. Alex Taylor knew it, held his hand straight into the air to signal touchdown before the officials did, and Carson-Newman scoots ahead 20-0. Thomas under center, split backs, takes the snap. He will sneak it left side. Thomas, 4-6. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. DeAndre Thomas with his 3rd score of the day and his 16th rushing touchdown of the season. 2 wide in each direction from the Carson-Newman 27. Now a man in motion, Gaylord out to the wide side left. Nallenweg all by his lonesome in the gun. Takes the shotgun snap, 2-step drop, flush from the pocket, rolls right, throws right, and it is intercepted. Ian Jacobs seizes it at the 20, heads left and goes out of bounds at the 21. Ian Jacob, his 5th pick of the season, and perfect timing stops the Wingate drive inside Carson-Newman's 50. Under center with split backs, Baker to the right and Douglas to the left. A man in motion, Trayshawn Ward to the left of the formation. Thomas takes the snap. He'll give on a right side dive. Brandon Baker, gaping hole for Baker. 50, 40, Baker in a foot race to the 20, and he's tripped up deep inside Wingate territory at the 13-yard line. John Jimenez was able to catch up with him, but Brandon Baker reels off a 67-yard run. This one comes from the Wingate 9 at the right hash. Thomas takes the snap out of the split back veer, throws a pass left side to the sideline. It's complete. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. Hit Steven Isom in front of Nortavius Otis on the sideline, 3 yards deep into the end zone on a comeback route left side. Steven Isom finds the end zone. Thomas under center, split backfield. He'll take the snap, run pitch right. Douglas has it. Douglas into the boundary, has first down yardage along the right sideline. Ping-pongs out the defender at the 20 and gets plunged out of bounds inside the 15-yard line by Nick Napolitano. First and 10 from the Wingate 47. Thomas takes the snap, punts left. He's back to pass, long ball. Luther Walker catches it at the 15. Nobody will get to him. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. What a punchback from the Eagles. Luther Walker got a man to bite on the out and up route down the left sideline. And the Eagles lead it 44-35 with 5:55 left in the contest. A 47-yard score for Luther Walker.
Those are the highlights from Carson-Newman's 52-35 playoff-clinching win over the Wingate Bulldogs. When we return on the Ken Sparks Show, Mike Turner sits in for Carson-Newman head coach Ken Sparks. He breaks down the Eagles' offensive performance against the Bulldogs when we return after this on the Ken Sparks Show. Back on the Ken Sparks Show as Carson-Newman clinches a first-round home game. In the NCAA playoffs, the Eagles get there by virtue of a 52-35 victory over the Wingate Bulldogs. Carson-Newman plays host to Newberry in that opening round game Saturday at noon. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman offensive coordinator Mike Turner. Mike, absolutely as close to a flawless performance probably as you could ask for offensively in the victory over Wingate. More than 600 yards of total offense. You convert on 13 of 16 third downs. Passing efficiency rating higher than 200. What caused everything to click against the Bulldogs?
Well, I think it was just determination by those kids. I think they knew what was at stake. They knew that was a very important game. It could have been the last game for quite a few of them. I really enjoyed being around them this week, enjoyed being around them on the trip over, and their determination, their attitude, their willingness to make changes and adjust during the ball game was just something that was great to be around, something fun to be around.
The pace of that game seemed to be, to me, as fast as you've gone this season in terms of the hurry up. True or false?
Well, I think it was on par with a couple others there as far as tempo and things going, and still would like to go a little bit faster if we could. We've still got to get our attention turned in the right places so that we can go faster. We can do some things while people are not adjusted to make them pay for that. But gosh, the effort of those kids at every position, the blocking, the running, the throwing, the catching, it was a great day to be around. We had the one turnover we were going in, and that was an effort turnover. He was trying to make something more out of it. But overall, very pleased with their effort. Not very pleased, outstanding pleased with their effort.
You look at the job, you brought up doing things well across the board. Offensive line seems to really be knocking people back, especially over the last 2 weeks. Do you get a sense of urgency from seniors like Alex Taylor, Lucas Mathis?
Well, in fact, that's one of the things we talked about in the pregame meeting. Saturday was urgency. Urgency is good for you. Urgency helps you grow up. Urgency helps you mature. Urgency is a sign of somebody that's got a mission. And they played Saturday like they were on a mission, like they had something to do. And they understand this has been our second playoff game. They say it starts next Saturday, but we've been in it for 2 weeks now. It was forced upon us, and we did it to ourselves. So they responded well. We still can do much better in a lot of different ways. And when they see that video, it'll be like, oh, Coach, we can do that better. But you certainly don't want to take away from their effort and how hard they play. I always tell them, if one of the last things they write on your tombstone, at least you played hard all the time. And there's rewards for that.
Mm-hmm. You look at what DeAndre Thomas has done this season. His maturation as a sophomore quarterback seems to have come by leaps and bounds. And Saturday, indicative of that, goes to the air twice for touchdowns and gets 3 more on the ground, including a front flip into the end zone to score his first touchdown of the day. What about the job he's done?
Well, he's come a long, long way, Adam, and he'll be the first guy to tell you that he can be a lot better, and he can make the offense a lot better. But his leadership, his takeover, his toughness has really shown that that's the maturing part of him that's really been pleased with. So I wanted to talk with him a little bit about that dive in the end zone. We have to talk about that one. but he was avoiding the tackle, and he did get it in the end zone. We tell him, hey, you got to get in the end zone, buddy. When we get down there, it's got to count. But the things he did Saturday, I think 13 out of 16, something like that, throwing the football, and those kids getting open, him getting the ball out of his hand, that's what's critical, and the protection was there also.
How shocking is it in a way that you've put up the passing numbers that you have this season, considering you've only had one game with your two starting wide receivers, Anthony Eubanks and Steven Isom, because of injuries, and that was the opener against Wayne State.
Right. Well, we're fortunate to have some depth guys there, and some guys that have stepped up and made some things. And Luther Walker's done a great job, and Trayshawn Ward moving from running back, and primarily he's still working at running back, primarily at receiver now. And I watch him throw that little body around, and that's something to behold now. But he's playing hard. But we've had some guys, and then getting Steven back has helped us, and we're hoping that Anthony will be back next week. But those other guys now have done a great job.
What about the confidence to go to the air in third down situations, just like you did to convert a couple against Wingate?
Right. No, there's no hesitation as long as we feel like those kids know what to do. They know how to run the routes and keep it simple, and get the ball out of our hands. And that's one thing our coaches worked hard with DeAndre, getting it out of your hand on time. The break is going to be there, and the one at the goal line there to Isom on Saturday. It was beautiful, getting the ball out of his hand right at the right spot, and nobody could cover it. And 1 foot in, he's out of there, and it's a touchdown.
Just how far has the offense come since that opener against Wayne State?
Well, not as far as I'd like for it to come. I'm being realistic, and those kids will tell you that we've got to be a lot more consistent, and we're still not getting everything that you like to get. You know what I mean? And I don't mean it to sound greedy, but we're still not there where we want to be. But that's great, because now is the time that, hey, you start the second season, and it's time for you to be going up the ladder. And you certainly don't want to be in a level off position this time. In the last 2 weeks, those kids have showed they're not ready to level off, and that's a great thing. That's a learning part.
Mike Turner, pleasure as always. Thanks for filling in on the Ken Sparks Show.
Glad to, Adam. Thank you, man. Thanks for all you do for us here at Carson-Newman. We're grateful to you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, man.
That's Carson-Newman offensive coordinator Mike Turner. When we return on the Ken Sparks Show, we break down the defensive side of things with defensive coordinator Mike Clowney. Back on the Ken Sparks Show, I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman defensive coordinator Mike Clowney as the Eagles pick up a 52-35 road victory over the Wingate Bulldogs to clinch a spot in the NCAA playoffs. The Eagles play host to Newberry this coming weekend, November 23rd at noon here at Burkhardt Stadium. Mike, yet another weekend where your defense causes loads of chaos. 4 sacks, 2 turnovers against the Bulldogs. What can you attribute that mindset to, all these turnovers, all these sacks this season?
I think our coaches have done a good job. Coach Redding with the front, I think they were the big key, especially in this football game, to where, you look at the rushing yards and you look at the sacks. It's because, the guys up front had an attacking mentality. They did a good job of getting off the ball and controlling the line of scrimmage for us.
Negative rushing yards. The research is still in process. I have not found a game where a team was held to negative rushing yards, at least in the last 8 years. What about the job, when Wingate does put the ball in the hands of their running backs to stuff it and not let them get anything going?
Like I said, it begins up front, like with us attacking and controlling the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that we bickered back and forth all week was run versus pass, having that balance. We knew that they'd do a good job throwing the football. We just didn't know how effective their run game would be. So we kind of decided working, we'd go 50-50, and you go back and look at the stat sheet, and I handed it to Coach Redding, and he was pleased. So.
Pleased too. Not only were your sacks, but they also pushed Wingate back 15 yards at a time and in crucial situations. Javaris Neal with the sack and a half, and Michael Serge Bali, Gerard Henderson come free a couple times too. What's it like to be able to bring pressure from so many different places along the line and the linebacker response?
It makes for a comfortable situation at points in times where that those guys are going to do a good job. And now we mix in the pressure, but at points in time you don't feel like you have to send pressure. So we're able to kind of have a good balance of getting pressure out of base defense and then throwing a little bit of pressure here and there.
I thought your biggest defensive takedown of the day came with a 3-man rush. I don't remember who was at nose tackle at the time, but shot right through the middle on a third down situation late to bring down Wingate's quarterback, Robbie Nallenweg, late in the fourth quarter?
I think it was Jamar. He did a good job of attacking, and then he just kind of worked off of the guy and came back, or actually around in B gap in the end, wound up going in A gap. It was a twist. We didn't call it, but, they did a good job of working off the blocks, and it kind of happened that way.
You look at the turnovers. Jacob Coleman with his second pick of the season. Ian Jacob hauls in his fifth pick of the year against the Bulldogs. What about the job that the secondary linebackers and even defensive linemen have done just to get hands on balls, and you've doubled your interception total from a year ago?
I think that's one thing that we looked at, coming out of last season. We've got to do a better job of forcing people to turn the football over. And we worked on it, doing circuits and different things like that. And our kids have bought into, hey, being hungry about getting the football back. Let's get it back to our offense. Let's do everything we can to make sure that we're attacking, if the ball's in the air. And I think, they did a good job. Jacob Coleman did a good job of kind of showing pressure and backing out and being able to get it underneath a route. And on Jacob's pick, we did the front, did a good job of flushing him out of pocket, a situation where he needs to make a throw, and he kind of gambled a little bit and let another pick there.
You look at the season that Jacob Coleman has had, now 115 tackles. It's just the second 100-tackle season by a Carson-Newman defensive player in the last 15 years. And the last time an Eagle had two 15-tackle games in a single year, you were suited up. It was your record tackle game against Wingate back in 1996, and you followed it up with an 18-tackle performance against Mars Hill. What about the job that Jacob has done at linebacker? He seems like he's accepting a leadership role in addition to some superb play on the actual field.
Yeah, Jacob's done a good job. He's a senior, and now he's to that point to where he realized that every play he goes out, he's not promised another play, another down, especially after getting hurt last year and having to sit and watch. I think it just means a lot more to him to be on the field and be playing. So he's giving it all he's got right now.
He seems to be having fun off of it, too. Do you get that sense?
I do. He's got a great focus, but at the same time, after the game, you see that big, bright smile, and he's having a good time. And that's what this game's intended for.
Another kid who's stepped up and had a solid season this year has been Javaris Neal, now leading the team in sacks after that 1.5 sack performance. What about the job that he's done, really surpassing his Defensive Freshman of the Year campaign from a year ago and looking to have some sort of all-conference season this year?
It's been fun to watch Javaris kind of grow up. Last year he's a freshman. He's got big brother here, and they do a good job of working and competing. But he's starting to mature, and he's starting to understand a lot of the things that we're asking him to do. Realize, hey, we're not picking on you. We're trying to get everything we can out of you to make you as good as you can be.
Defensively, what do you have to do to get better with a week to prepare for a team that you faced just 2 weeks ago in the Newberry Wolves in the opening round of the playoffs?
Well, if you go back and watch this game, giving up 400 yards passing, it's obvious that we've got to make sure that we, do a better job on the back end of kind of closing off some gaps and holes. They did a good job, but we've got to do a better job of, being anticipators, knowing what's going on, and just kind of doing our job all the way around every play.
Mike, pleasure as always. Thanks for stopping by and filling in for Ken.
Thank you.
That's Carson-Newman defensive coordinator Mike Clowney. When we return on the Ken Sparks Show, Michael Watrang has a look at Carson-Newman's watch party of the NCAA selection show. That's after this. Back on the Ken Sparks Show, I'm the voice of the Eagles, Adam Cavalier, as Carson-Newman picks up a 52-35 road victory over the Wingate Bulldogs to clinch a playoff berth. Each week we shine the Eagle spotlight on one Carson-Newman football player. This week we shine it on an event. Michael Watrang has the Eagle spotlight on Carson-Newman's watch party of the NCAA Division II selection show when the Eagles found out they would be the 4th seed and face Newberry in the opening round of the playoffs.
After a 37-3 loss to Lenore-Rhine, it looked like the Carson-Newman Eagles may miss the playoffs. However, strong performances against Newberry and Wingate earned the Eagles a 4 seed in Super Region 2 and a home game against Newberry Saturday, November 23rd. The team gathered in the Ken Sparks Athletic Complex to watch the selection show Sunday evening.
Well, since that loss, it's basically been, for us at least, win or go home. Because if we had suffered another loss, we wouldn't have made the postseason like we've made it. So, me personally, I like that. I like being able to go to practice knowing that you no longer have the option, you have to get better each and every day if you want to keep playing.
After last season came to an end with a 48-26 loss to Valdosta State, the common theme this season has been playing with a chip on their shoulders.
We've got to be ready to play because if you're we lose, we're out. And so for us seniors, I know there's a big group of us, and we're fighting because it's probably the last games we'll ever play. And so now it's not down to games, it's down to game, down to each week.
The opportunity to play another home game is an added bonus for the senior class. Brandon Baker is excited to go through the routine in Jefferson City one final time as they look to avenge last year's early exit.
We know from when we had the loss last year to Valdosta, it was heartbreaking, and we knew coming into this year we was going to have to work even harder. And we didn't get a first seed like last year or a second seed, but we're in, and that's all that matters. And we got to take each step from now on.
The common theme in the room Sunday afternoon as the team gathered to see its fate was focusing strictly on the Eagles and what they do best.
I think just to keep the mentality of getting better and trying to stay team focused. I think the more we focus on other teams, it's going to hurt us. And especially coming now with Newberry, we played them 2 weeks ago. I think we just need to stay focused on doing what we do best, which is run the ball and just play Carson-Newman football.
Baker thinks that it's an advantage to play against a familiar foe because each team will know exactly what to expect, and it comes down to sheer will.
It's getting back to film, doing what we did last time, knowing the adjustments, and I think Coach Turner's going to do a good job game planning to put us in the best position to win. And I'm just really confident in Coach Turner and the decisions he makes that's going to help us win, and I think it's going to be a great matchup.
The first meeting between the Eagles and the Wolves saw 3 defensive touchdowns and 8 combined turnovers. Taylor believes that the offense needs to cut down on mistakes.
Well, we know that we can't rely on the big plays every single game. They don't always happen. So what we have to focus on against Newberry specifically is take away the negatives. We gave them a fumble for a touchdown. We had another fumble. We had an interception. We can't do that because we won't be able to rely on the big plays, like I said. So it's just going to have to be fundamental, stick to the basics, go get the job done.
Defensive coordinator Mike Clowney addressed the team after the selection show, and the word focus was uttered on several occasions. Clowney stressed the beginning of a new season, a season where everyone reverts to a 0-0 record. Carson-Newman has begun its championship journey, and it will concentrate on Newberry first. For the Ken Sparks Show, I'm Michael Watrang.
Thanks, Michael. Carson-Newman is playoff bound. The Eagles make their 25th playoff appearance in program history and the 24th under Carson-Newman head football coach Ken Sparks. Saturday's game time is set for noon between the Eagles and Newberry. Second meeting this season and second meeting here at Mossy Creek. For ticket information, call 865-471-3396. That's 865-471-3396. It's the Eagles and Newberry, Saturday at noon from Berktar Stadium. This has been the Ken Sparks Show. For Michael Watrang, Mike Turner, and Mike Clowney, I'm Adam Cavalier saying thanks for watching.